So thank you for being here for the June Focus on program for the Andover Public Library. I'm Dan Alexander from the Northeast Kansas Library System. I'm a continuing education consultant, like my guest here was before me for a different regional library system. So thank you for being here, Tom. Would you go ahead and would you just introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Dan. Yes, my name's Tom Taylor. I'm the director of the Andover, Kansas Public Library. I've been here for over 10 years now. Prior to that, I was a continuing education uh, consultant at South Central Kansas Library System. I've worked at libraries in Florida. I got my master's at USF. I got my first library job in Newton Public Library over 20 years ago. It's been quite a ride, and um, it gets pretty crazy sometimes, like last week. But thank you all for your interest and for coming. I want to talk a little bit about our community. We're a little different than a lot of places. Andover, Kansas has grown almost exponentially in the last 30 years. 30 years ago, it was kind of a sleepy little town. Now we're adjacent to Wichita. Like we're on the county line. Wichita comes out to the county line. You could throw a Frisbee into Wichita in some parts of our town. We have good school systems here. People move to the area for the schools. And so, Andover just eclipsed 15,000 people for the last state estimate. It's a very young community, as you see with the city's logo there. As such, there's no downtown, um, like very much a bedroom community. And as such, the library, a lot of your libraries are much older than ours. Ours dates back to the 50s. So there wasn't a huge legacy collection. There's not a huge legacy collection for our city. Um, we are located in Andover Central Park. Central Park's kind of a misnomer. It's actually on the edge of town. Aspirational, I think, in that we're hoping that the town grows to the east. To the east. We can't grow to the west. And then actually Andover is bisected by I-35 and US 54. Hoping to get some remote lockers put on each side of the major highways so people don't have to come here specifically. But we love being in the park. I like to take walks around a lake during my lunch break. We're very busy now with summer reading. Families will come here. They'll hit the playground. They'll come to the library. It's really nice. There's an amphitheater that's fairly new. Um, there's a disc golf course now, and there's a dog park. So there's just a lot you can do in our neck of the woods. We are close to three different schools: the Andover Central Middle and High School, and the local elementary. So we do have some foot traffic. When we first moved here, the schools were already there. I'll let you now. Let's talk about the library, Dan. Um, so our building opened in October 2008. Before that, it was in a tiny little facility, which is now the Historic Museum. Our building has 15,000 square feet. Right now, we house around 49,000 physical items. We've it's been over 50, but that got really cramped on our shelves. And I'm a firm believer in not having crowded shelves. Um, and we have a very open and airy feel, and I really like that. And so I don't want to choke it out. We are part of the CanShare Library Consortium with some of our suburban partners. So with access to over 350,000 items, when you can borrow items from Park City or Derby, Rose Hill, Augusta, El Dorado, Goddard, um, and they can ship them here via courier. So it's really nice being in that. We have ebooks, of course, and audios through Sunflower. A lot of you probably use Sunflower. Like a lot of libraries, we have some media rooms, we have study rooms. We actually have an art gallery, which is also a rentable space. We do programs in there. Last summer, we hired an employee to put a lot of focus and effort into that. She comes with an MFA in arts and had taught at Wichita State University and brought in a lot of amazing art shows really recently, including programming. Just because our library building is new doesn't mean everything is sweet. We've hit that point where we've had to replace lights across the library. we have LEDs now, so they're more efficient, but that's a big procedure. Even more expensive was replacing two of our HVAC units. Um, when those things hit 15 years, that's their lifespan and beyond. And we have a few more that are at that same age. So, we have a healthy capital improvement fund. So I recommend that if you can deposit money into that each year, and then you might have to use it. We had to use it. We had to dip into it a little bit, um, not so much, but some. And then we have a few water issues that have been really tricky to solve. It's an ongoing deal. So even though the library is new, we are running into some things that happen. Let's talk about what we have here now. Special collections, how are we different maybe than your library? Well, a lot of libraries do have cake pans and hotspots, or radon detectors now. And I know there's some more libraries in the state that are getting telescopes and binoculars. We weren't the first, but those are popular. We have, I think, 3 telescopes. They're all checked out right now. We have games and STEM kits. The games we actually check out. We circulate our board games, and some of those are the hobby games that are your $50-$60 games with lots of little pieces and cards. It's a great way to try out a game without having to drop that much money on it. Because there's a disc golf course here, we started circulating disc golf kits. It's a little backpack. It comes with multiple discs. We're not the first. Our neighbors in Augusta have done it for some time, but it's really convenient. People were new to disc golf, like, what is this? And then it's like, well, check out some kits here, see if you like it. Since the course is new, there have been a lot of tournaments here, and there's almost always people playing if the weather is nice. I used to play when I was younger. I've had shoulder issues, so I've kind of retired from that, but I might rehab a little and see where we go. But I did a few promotional videos where I chucked some discs, and we had to take a few takes before I sunk one, but and I think probably the really distinct thing that we have is our American Girl doll collection. Um, this was something that was new to me. I have sons, but our friends group, there were 2. Unfortunately, neither of them are with us anymore, but they were both very passionate about American Girl dolls. And there was a library in Illinois that had an American Girl doll program. So what we have is we have these dolls. These dolls are very expensive, so a lot of kids won't have them. I wouldn't buy $100 action figure for my sons. Uh, so it's expensive, but a lot of kids may have one doll, but if you wanted to have a tea party with your doll, you could invite another one over, take her home. So it comes with a bag where the doll's in the bag. It has an extra set of clothes, sometimes accessories like brushes or combs. And then there's a book. A lot of these dolls some of the dolls are named characters, so they have books that are specific to that doll. When we started the collection, these are all been donated or purchased by the friends. The library hasn't bought any of them. And I wanted to focus more on like multicultural and historic figures. I realized that picture that they're not very multicultural looking there, but the first dolls we got were, and we still have almost all of those. And so it was, Andover is not particularly multicultural. I think the library has more multicultural usage than the city if you look at the census data. But yeah, I thought it was great to have the Native American girl, and I liked having the historic pieces. So it was a learning opportunity, not just something to do. And we're at around 11 now. Some of them have massive hold lines on them, hold lists on them, and the others are down in the low single digits. When one of the woman who was the most responsible and sort of spearheaded the effort, unfortunately, she passed away last winter, and so we got some nice donations in her honor. Most excitedly, there was a young woman that came in from another suburb, not even one that's close to us, and she had heard about our program and she donated $4. So it's been really neat. When the doll comes back, staff inspect it, and so it's like, yeah, we play with dolls at work, but that's kind of one of the distinct things we do. a lot of you probably have some sort of special collections like that that you lend. But people are always saying, "Oh, I had no idea that you did that." And that's, I mean, we're associated with the book, and we're always going to be associated with the book. But there are so many people in our community and in probably in your communities that don't know about these other things that we have, and they don't even necessarily know about the ebook. So it's getting them to learn about it, and they're usually really excited. Um, now I'll talk about some of the things that
I
we.
just wanted to
Oh yeah,
commend you, and it kind of fits into some of the things you've been saying about the video of the Frisbee golf, and
yeah,
but then also these collections, and how do you let people know? And what I've been noticing is that you guys seem to do a really good job with your marketing. From your list of the week activities that kind of has the moving background, I assume is maybe used for digital signage
yeah, exactly.
inside the library, but then just the things you're putting on Facebook. But it seems like those things are you're trying out different tactics. So do you have somebody who's your go-to multimedia
Yeah,
person?
we do. We have a you can see her behind me in the pink. Her name is Jessica, and she's does a phenomenal job with the graphics and the videos. And she started as a page here working part-time, and then moved to the front, and then moved to the front full time, and then very creative person. But yeah, she's really excels at that, and we have other staff that contribute a lot on that. I've been able to take a step back from that, which is good. But I see it. My part of my role is to empower them, help them succeed. But yeah, I'm beyond tickled at what she and other staff have been doing with the videos and things and the social media. It's been the Instagram page is really, really cool, but we don't have a lot of followers. But yeah, Facebook does really well as well. Um, we do have video screens. We have three that are mounted, and that one is on, and then we have one that's on a movable cart. Right now, we've got that moved out next to our summer reading stuff. It's so busy. Um, we have 4 regular story times a week. We have a variety of book clubs. Our newest one is our tween book club, and that's really popular. We had a YA book club for teens, but it just wasn't very popular. And that really kind of reflects our community. Andover's an affluent community. The teens around here are very busy. They've got all kinds of things they're doing. It was a tough sell, and so we kind of focused into other areas where we had more participation. Um, we are a passport processing facility. I know that's a lot of your libraries maybe have adopted that. Andover was the first one in the state. We're proud of that. I'm actually a passport agent myself. Um, I enjoy doing it. It brings a lot of people into the library that haven't been in here in years or have never been in here, and then they can see what we have. And um, it's a real stressful process applying for a passport, so sometimes people get really upset and nervous, but most of them are pretty cool, and I've enjoyed meeting people that way. Um, Times have changed. We have the only public fax and copy machines in town. Otherwise, you'd have to drive into Wichita to go to like FedEx or Office Depot or one of those places. Of course, we have computers and Wi-Fi. We rent out our rooms. I talked a little bit about the art shows. Um, Going back to the computers and the Wi-Fi, when the library opened in '08, we had a dedicated computer lab with 10 PCs. um, we saw declining usage as we got closer to the present day with the more proliferation of Wi-Fi devices and people having their own tablets and screens and laptops. And so we actually did some remodeling where we took out a large magazine rack, opened up some space, put the computers. We now have 6, and we put those out in the library itself, and then freed up an entire room that we we needed for staff stuff. When they built the library, they didn't build a lot of staff and behind the scenes space. So, but we've through remodeling, we've been able to achieve some of that. We do a variety of programming. Today, in fact, we had the Wichita Gem and Mineral Society here. Um, they had a packed house of kids. It was really neat. They were talking about the different types of rocks and then hands-on time. It was really cool. Um, you can see there we had a Celtic guitarist once, and we used to have these children's carnivals for little kids. That's my son in the red mask. He's now 5'10", 220 pounds. So he's grown. It's bigger than me now. But a lot of different programs are sort of core. The biggest stuff we have is for the little kids, probably about pre-K to about third grade. Anything that seems like it's really huge. Now in the summer, we have a lot more participation for the late elementary and tweens. We do have events for adults. Our friends of the library are very supportive, and they do a lot of the programming. Bingo night and bunko night are very popular here, among other things. And there's regular mahjong games. There's a regular game, and then there's also like a different day where they do instructional mahjong, teach you how to play. I haven't had the time to sit down and learn. They keep telling me I need to. Like, I agree, but not now in the summer, that's for sure. And one thing that
Oh, Tom, I think you're breaking up, so we'll see if you come back on. Come on, bandwidth, work out with for us.
I'll come in.
Might have you exit and come back, Tom. Or maybe it's just me. Sorry, folks. Bear with us for a moment. We've got some good stuff to get to. Okay, thanks guys. Appreciate you letting me know in chat. Tom's coming back right now. Hopefully stronger than ever. All right.
Ladies and gentlemen, Cox Communications.
Thanks, Tom.
Cox Communications, everyone. Supposedly there's a new fiber coming to town, so looking forward to that. I'll keep my mic off until I get through the next slide.
Yeah, sure.
So I was talking about open mics nights. I was a little apprehensive that we would have buy-in, but it's been really popular. We sort of, we've guaranteed like an hour slot for our young folks, our teens, and then after that it's opened up to the adults and stuff. And people have played some musical instruments, read poetry. It's been really quite popular. I keep saying I'm going to read a poem. I haven't done it yet. I will get there. Those are some of the services and programs that we offer, among other things. Let's talk about briefly, maybe not so brief, about what's happened lately. We were in the news last week, and if you look in the upper right corner there's a picture that a local pastor put where he and some of the deacons from his church had checked out a whole bunch of books about LGBTQ, and the purpose was to prevent other people from having access to those books. But he posted it on his Instagram and his Facebook, and these things spread. And actually, I didn't know about it till the reporter called me, and I was like, "Wait, what are you talking about?" And so then she showed me, and I was like, "Oh, okay," because we were never tagged in any of that. But our friends next door in Wichita Public Library found out about it, and they posted on it, and that's probably how she found out about it. But then there was a story on our public radio station. Had a nice written story, and then they had last Friday they aired the radio the radio version of it. This is a very stressful deal, very, very challenging. We've had so much support lately. I just had a guy, I have to call him back. He wants to make a donation. And then I had a woman come in yesterday. One of the deacons lives in her neighborhood, and she was feeling so guilty, and she made a donation. We've had a lot of positive support, but it's not our first rodeo, so to speak. Last fall, we had an issue with social media during Banned Books Week that kind of blew up. We actually had to, I ordered our social media to go dark for a while just so things would calm down. And somehow that made the news. And I ended up on two different news stations. And anyway, but the biggest one, and hey, we're ahead of the time now, back to 2017, 2018. We had some book challenges, and these are transgender kids books. You can see the titles there: George, I Am Jazz, and William Duncan. Now, George by Alex Gino was on the William Allen White list, but you might know that book. That was really a controversial one. Well, we had three actual written challenges, so we had to go through the whole procedure where people reviewed the books. We had a committee. We made decisions. We had an open meeting, the board meeting. We had to move it to our large meeting room. We had lots of people speak on both sides. And then the board decided to have in February of 2018, they said, that's when we'll vote. And that meeting, they said, thank you for your feedback. We'll vote then. Then our friends from Westboro Baptist Church came and picketed. I think there were more police there than there were. Those are just three of them. That there were more than that, but we had a larger police presence, I think, than we had actual picketers. I was really hoping they would have a sign that said, God hates Andover Library, but they just use the ones they always have. But as someone once told me, if you're being protested by Westboro Baptist Church, you're probably doing something right. Yeah, very timely considering what happened last week. So that's been quite the ordeal. I had a lot of stuff to do, but I had to deal with this. And that is what it is. I'd much rather talk about the earlier slides, but we had to address, I think, this elephant in the room. And I've spoken for quite a bit. Let's take some questions if you have any, Dan. I've got a final thought.
I actually had written down a few questions
Oh,
about
yeah.
this slide. I don't have
All
any
right.
in chat right now, but do feel free to put your question in chat, or you can even put your hand up if you feel like using your microphone. But one thing I wanted to talk to you about or have you address is you now have talked to the press probably more than most Kansas librarians have ever done. Maybe I'm wrong with that,
No,
but
that might be, yeah, probably.
yeah. So just any advice or, what do you tell your staff? I've known the video I was watching earlier today, and there is a video of Tom talking about this challenge. I was trying to find the link and put it in chat, but I wasn't finding it and I was getting distracted. But it is an interesting video where he talks about that whole 2018 process. But yeah, so anything, but what I was going to say is you mentioned that you told your staff that you were like the point person for that.
Yes.
Um, Anything else that you would say about working with the press or PR, any of that kind of stuff from your experiences?
Sure. I think it's very important that you have a unified message, and I think that starts with the library director, unless a larger library may have someone who does that kind of thing. But so first thing is to tell staff, refer everyone to me. And then it it's something that you have to spend a lot of time preparing and crafting your message. Sometimes a reporter will contact you right off the bat, and you're like, then you have to respond. But you don't have to go on the record if you don't want to. I think it's important that you do. Um, and I've been fortunate that I did a lot of debate and forensics in high school and college, and public speaking is something I do a lot of still in my job. And so, I mean, I'd still get nervous when I'm on camera, but um, that to me wasn't a horrible deal. But you have a point person, um, have some like talking points that you're prepared to state and that you're prepared to repeat to different outlets. Also, when we talked about 2018, I made like a blog post and posted that on our website, and then I was able to share it with people. Um, this last one, there was no formal challenge, so we didn't have to proceed with all of that. But it's important to have a point person. You're going to have to spend a lot of time preparing for what you might say. And then a lot of it's the sort of the standard thing that you'll say is that public libraries serve everyone, including people that are not part of the majority population. Also, another big talking point is we're not parents. We're not parenting your children. We believe that it's each parent's right to decide what their children does or does not read. Um, and so those are some important points. Um, for this particular issue where they checked out these books, they didn't do anything against our policy or procedure. You're allowed to check out large quantities of books. We wouldn't have known about it if he hadn't have posted it on his social medias. And so I was very clear in my communication that, yeah, this happened. And then I focus more on the fact that you're giving them statistics, and I tried not to make a value statement about what they were doing. It's certainly against the spirit of a public library to do something like that. But you have to sort of try, you have to be professional, you have to, not get heated yourself. I've had staff that got really upset and, I had to calm them down. Not this time, but in the previous one. So that's all important.
Well, and it sounds like, from what I read, that you all, your message was kind of one of education about just how collections work. And I think there's a
Yeah.
really good point about you, just so you know, with you, you're now resetting the timer for this book
Yeah.
because you've checked
Yeah.
it all out. And if you don't ever bring them back, it's just going to show that it's a popular book and we'll probably purchase it again. So, like as you said, you weren't trying to be antagonistic, but you almost using it as an educational moment.
Yeah. And that's the thing. Like when we went back to 2018, I had to talk a lot about our material selection policy and like, look, here's how we select books. We use reviews. We're not just buying the books that we like. We're buying books that are recommended. Um, and then, for each of those books, I found a variety of reviews in Library Journal, School Library Journal book list. Um, so you have to be prepared to talk about the process that you have for purchasing materials. There, Nikki. Hey,
Thank
Nikki,
you,
nice
Nikki.
to see you. Yeah, that was our last fall event was the Banned Books Week
Mhm.
mess. So I didn't put a picture of that one on there because I wanted to show the books that were challenged, and then I wanted to show our friends there in the lower right hand corner. But
I, I
go
had
ahead.
a question for you about challenges, just to see what your take was. We had Peter Bromberg with
Oh
us
yes, I was
statewide
there.
last
Yeah.
week, and he said something that was interesting to me as a consultant was where he basically was saying like he would reconsider the challenge process. And I know that we always tell our members how important it is to have a challenge policy, but then also a process, and sometimes, and you said in your presentation I was watching earlier about how you have moved stuff because of a challenge. You reviewed it and you saw their point and you said we will move this to a different section. What's your take on Peter's suggestion that maybe we are giving them too much power by having this open challenge process? Would you consider going away from that and saying that you can make comment, but that isn't actually a challenge to have things moved or removed? What's your take?
Oh boy, that was real tempting when he said that. It resonated for sure. What we've done is we have limited ours to Andover residents. So you're not getting these, proliferation. Folks, a lot of the challenges are coming from the same people or from the same organizations, and they're just like copy and pasting it. So we require if you're going to challenge, you have to be an Andover resident. I do think that you have to have some accountability because they are paying the property taxes that fund the library. So I'm not entirely excited about like altogether removing it. But yeah, you don't have a citizen file a challenge on what the streets department is doing. They have the right to comment, but they don't file a challenge on that. Yeah, and I'm happy to stick around, folks. But yeah, we did scale it down. Sort of, you had to live in town. We also required them to read the whole book. You have to read the book, um, and you had to answer some questions like, "Is there anything redeeming value in this book?" Or, "If you got rid of this book, what would you put in its place?" So it has to be a thought out process. The ones we had in 2018, look, they were pretty canned. You could tell that she'd gotten them from some other site. And so I suspect a lot of what the challenges that are out there now are that's what's happening. But I do think in this climate we probably need to still have this process. The fear though is like Dodge City happened recently where they were hit with I think 35. And it takes forever. I didn't track my time that I spent on those challenges in 2018. I wish I had because it was massive. I tell people I got a book chapter out of it at least, you know. I wrote a chapter for a book that was edited by Val Nye, my friend, and was published by ALA. But yeah, it's the other thing that's not talked about enough is how draining it is. Last week, after I talked to the reporter, as soon as the story went live on the website, I was just totally like the energy was sucked out of me. It's just sort of this, I don't know if it was like tying me back to the emotions that I had to do with the others. Yeah, thanks, Nikki, for posting that link. And then the same thing happened again when the radio story went. It's very draining experience. And in the 2018 it was incredibly draining. And that's one of those things that I had the board was involved in reading the materials and stuff, but you know the front desk staff, they don't need to be doing that. They've got a lot on their plate. So but yeah, it is a fear, like how many challenges, maybe you can limit person to one at a time, things like that that would help maybe reduce some of it. I did
Yeah, we've heard that limiting
yeah,
to one at a time.
I did see my friend Nathan had a question about going dark. Um,
Yes, thanks for getting to that.
yeah, what we did is we had like over 1,000 comments on a couple of our posts, and then people were spamming our other Facebook posts with the same sort of things. So we killed the comments and stuff were getting kind of worried. You know, we had people saying they were bringing paper shredders into the library, and people were threatening to, you know, steal books and shred them. And um, so I just wrote a memo explaining that, you know, we're going dark for a while. It's, you know, this is not acceptable things. Um, that made the news somehow. I'm not sure, but you know, a lot of people were upset that we did that we felt that we had to do that. Um, and then, you know, disabling comments when we took about a week off from social media, and then when we resumed, we just sort of it was eliminate all comments, don't enable any comments, which is hard because good social media is interactive, but you engage the people that are communicating with you. But it was like we need to stop. But what happened with it is most of the people didn't even realize we were a public library. Like a lot of them assumed we were at school. And you know how Facebook works. They were like friends of friends of friends or something. And so most of the like what I would consider like borderline threatening were from people that weren't local. But you know, it was still very upsetting. And so yeah, going dark was we just kind of shut her down for a while. And that actually brought a lot of attention to it. And I think people were upset at the people that were reacting so poorly. So and it's the same with this. Like you get more people that approach you and express their support after something like this happens. I think a lot of the population is probably just neutral, you know, where a lot of them are like, well, I don't want my kids to read it, but you know, other people can. We're talking about a minority, I think, of people that really want books banned. Um, maybe not. I hope so. I believe so. But yeah, that's how we went socially. We went dark for a little while, Nathan.
All right. Well, Tom, I feel like we could have talked to you for a lot longer about your experience with this, and we didn't even get to talk about lots of other library business. But
Yeah.
yeah, here's some thanks from people for answering their questions, and I think just know that obviously our Kansas library community supports you. So thank you everybody for being here, for listening to what Tom had to share with us at a very timely focus on program. We'll hopefully not have to make all of these programs so timely anymore, but it is nice to get together with you all. So thank you for being here. If you've made it this far in the recording, good for you. Take care. So we'll see you all another time. Have a great summer adventure series there with your summer reading programs.
Thank you, bud. Thanks, Dan. It was great.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.